The Galactic Council chamber had never known silence like this before. 500 delegates from 412 civilizations sat frozen in their seats, their various biological forms trembling, flickering, or simply going rigid, each species expressing terror in its own unique way. The holographic display at the center of the chamber pulsed with the recorded transmission one final time before going dark. High Chancellor Zareth of the Veldron pressed all 6 of his fingers against his temple ridges and closed his 3 eyes slowly. "Play it again," he said quietly. The council's AI obeyed. The voice of Admiral Darian Voss filled the chamber for the 3rd time, calm, measured, and absolutely devastating in its clarity. "This is Admiral Darian Voss of the Terran Defense Fleet, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Government. The Galactic Council's decision to weaponize the Kethra relay against civilian colonies on Proxima Station, Ganymede Outpost, and New Carthage is noted. 11,417 human civilians are confirmed dead. We are transmitting this message so that there is no ambiguity in what follows. You have 24 of your standard hours to begin withdrawal from all occupied territories. After that window closes, we will not be asking again. Voss out." The transmission ended. The silence returned. "He said we will not be asking again," whispered Delegate Fryn of the Asari Collective, her bioluminescent skin flickering pale white, her species equivalent of a cold sweat. "Not requesting. Not demanding. Just stating." "The tone," murmured Delegate Oris of the Keth Dominion, "is the most disturbing part." High Chancellor Zareth finally opened his eyes. He had ruled the Galactic Council for 42 cycles. He had navigated the Thessa collapse, the Void War, the fragmentation of the Oran Empire. He had seen species rise and fall like tides against the shore of history. But he had never, in all those years, made the mistake of dismissing a species simply because they were new. The Council had. The vote had passed 3 months ago, 269 to 143. The motion, to preemptively neutralize the human species before their technological advancement reached a critical threshold. The Veldron intelligence apparatus had flagged humanity for 11 reasons, all of them concerning. Their rate of technological acceleration was unprecedented. Their biology allowed them to survive on extreme caloric deprivation, function without sleep for days, and heal from wounds that would permanently disable most sapient creatures. They felt fear, but they acted anyway. That last point had caused a 3-hour debate. "All species feel fear," Delegate Oris had argued dismissively. "It is a survival mechanism. The humans simply require more stimulation to trigger it." Zareth had voted against the motion. Not out of sympathy for the humans, he had never met one, but out of an old instinct that had kept him alive longer than most politicians: never kick a creature whose full capabilities you have not yet mapped. The Council had kicked the creature. And now Admiral Darian Voss was knocking on the door. Aboard the Absolute Meridian, the flagship of the Terran Defense Fleet, Admiral Darian Voss stood at the observation deck and watched the stars. She was not a tall woman by human standards, compact, brown-skinned, with close-cropped silver hair that had turned that color when she was 31, not 63. The lines on her face were not from age alone. They were from Proxima Station, from Ganymede, from standing in a room where 11,417 names had been read aloud one by one, because she had insisted they all be read, because she refused to let those people become a statistic before the war was even formally declared. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Holt, approached quietly. "Chancellor Zareth is requesting a direct channel, Admiral." "He has 17 hours and 42 minutes left," Voss said, without turning from the window. "He says it's to negotiate. Tell him negotiation was available before 11,000 people died." She paused. "But open the channel. I'll listen." Zareth appeared on screen looking older than his official portraits. His 3 eyes were all open, which in Veldron culture meant he was not attempting to deceive, a gesture of vulnerability rarely extended to adversaries. "Admiral Voss," he said. I want you to understand that the vote for the Kethra strike was not unanimous. Many of us opposed it. I know, Voss said. Your voting records are public. I read them. Zareth blinked. You read our internal legislative records? 47 years of them. We've been observing your council since first contact. We studied you the way you were supposed to study us, before you decided killing us was simpler. She tilted her head slightly. The species who opposed the motion, the Fryn collective, the Terati, the Mune systems, they will not be treated as combatants. We've already transmitted specific no-engagement zones to their fleet commanders. The silence on Zareth's end lasted 4 full seconds. You separated out the non-combatants, he said slowly. Before hostilities even began. We've been planning this response for 8 months, Voss replied. Since your council first tabled the motion. We hoped you wouldn't pass it. We prepared as if you would. Zareth felt something move through his chest, a sensation his species called Velkar. There was no direct translation into galactic standard. The closest approximation was the specific dread of realizing you have fundamentally misunderstood something important, too late. What do you want, Admiral? Full withdrawal from the 3 occupied systems within 17 hours. Her voice did not waver. War crime tribunals for the commanders who authorized the Kethra strike, conducted under Joint Human Council jurisdiction. Reparations to the families of the dead, calculated by our economists, not yours. And a permanent restructuring of the Council's military authorization process so that one political body can never again unilaterally decide to exterminate a species they find inconvenient. And if we refuse? Voss finally turned fully to face the screen. Her expression was not angry. It was something far more unsettling than anger. It was patient. High Chancellor, she said, your tactical analysts have assessed the Terran fleet at approximately 40% combat effectiveness relative to the Council's combined military strength. I want you to know that assessment is based on capabilities we have chosen to disclose. She let that sit for exactly 2 seconds. Humans have spent most of our history at war with each other. Every weapon system we've ever developed, we built because we needed it against an enemy who knew all our other tricks. We have been our own worst adversaries for 10,000 years. You have been our adversary for 3 months. She leaned forward slightly. We are not the species you thought we were. We are not the species we were going to become. We are the species we already are. And what we are is a civilization that just watched 11,000 of its people die, and did not panic, did not fracture, did not beg. She paused. We planned. Zareth said nothing. 17 hours, Voss said. I hope you use them well. The channel closed. In the council chamber, the delegates had heard the conversation on relay. The silence that followed was different from the first silence, less shocked, more comprehending. Delegate Fryn spoke first, very quietly. They transmitted no engagement orders to protect us. Before we even asked. They read 47 years of our records, said Oris, who sounded like a being discovering that the ground beneath them was not as solid as previously believed. They planned for 8 months, said another voice from somewhere in the chamber. In secret. Without leaking a single detail to our intelligence networks. Zareth stood slowly. His 6 fingers were perfectly steady. Begin withdrawal procedures, he said. All 3 systems. Effective immediately. He looked out at the assembled delegates of 412 civilizations. And someone find me the names of those 11,417 people. All of them. He paused. Because I suspect Admiral Voss will ask whether we know them. And I will not be caught unprepared a second time. 17 hours and 42 minutes later, the last Council warship cleared the Proxima Station exclusion zone. Aboard the Absolute Meridian, Admiral Darian Voss received the confirmation, set down her coffee, and exhaled once. Fleet, she said over open comms, stand down from combat readiness. Maintain defensive posture. A beat. And someone tell the mess hall to make something hot. We've been at yellow alert for 8 months. The cheer that went up across 17 ships was not the roar of a species celebrating victory. It was the sound of people who had never wanted the war at all, finally, cautiously, beginning to breathe again. In the historical records of the Galactic Council, the event would later be catalogued as the Kethra Incident. In the records of humanity, it would be given a different name, one that appeared in no official document, but spread through the fleet by word of mouth until it was everywhere. They called it the 18 Hours. The 18 hours that the most powerful governing body in the known galaxy had, very quietly, decided that starting a war with humanity had been, upon reflection, a significant miscalculation. And chose to finish it before it began.